meeting to order. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call for the approval of the agenda. Any changes or amendments to the agenda for today?
I'd like to make a change to the agenda with regard to MO6 first reading. I'd like to withdraw the motion. We have received a legal opinion from our legal counsel very recently, and the committee needs time to review the recommendations from the legal counsel and consider all changes before going forward to the first reading.
Any other changes?
Mr. Herrick, I'd like to add an additional item under new business. I would just like to ask the board for consensus on a simple up-down vote if they would like me to pursue action regarding some of the email dialogue that was posted in for this week regarding adjacent property for sale to the association. No direct action to do anything, but just to get the information if the board would like to pursue further. And I'd like to ask that question publicly for full transparency if there is the desire for that consideration.
Tell us what you're talking about.
When we get to it.
Excuse me, is your
mic's not
working at all? I can't hear you.
No, you're not.
Okay. Any additional changes? All right, I'll ask for a motion to accept the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any yes? Okay, I'm going to ask for approval of minutes, January 20th special meeting. Any corrections? January 23rd work session, any corrections or amendments? January 27th budget session, any changes or corrections? Ms. Jacobs?
Yes, the information indicated that I was present by telephone, but in fact I was actually there. So I amend the minutes to indicate that I was present, live and in person.
January 28th, regular meeting. Any corrections or changes? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to accept the minutes for those meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Any against? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I just want to welcome everyone this morning. Thank you for coming to the meeting. The most important topic on today's meeting will be the motion to pass the budget fiscal year 2017-2018. This process started back in October with the acting GM, working with Art Carmine and later on Mary Bolsack, along with the Budget and Finance Committee. The board held many meetings in the last 2 months and discussed all the issues. And although we had many disagreements, everyone has their own opinions on what should be put forth and not. I believe that we all understood the need to compromise for the benefit of the whole. All issues and concerns were discussed and decided by a majority up and down vote. There's only 2 issues that are outstanding right now. They're on the agenda for today that we have not finalized. That's about the Beach Club Pass and about golf membership. This budget proposal keeps the base assessment at $921 while maintaining the high level of services, facilities, and amenities for the entire association to enjoy. With that, we'll have the treasurer's report. Pat Supik.
The report for the 9 months ended January 31st. the amounts are all in thousands. The operating revenue is primarily assessments and Parks and Rec, $6,347, and amenities had operating revenue of $3,850, making a total of $10,197 in operating revenue. The expenses were assessments and other, $5,248, and that's the police department, fire department, et cetera, all our services. And amenities expenses, $3,199 for a net of $8,447. Net operating for assessments and other is $1,099, and net operating for amenities is $651. In addition, we had new capital and loan repayment of $207. The variances from budget are explained as follows. The revenue variance of $284 below budget was driven by amenities being under budget by $335 and assessments and interest being over budget by 51. And the way assessments were over budget is the coastal hospice assessment that just came in. Normally assessments would be obviously right at budget. Expense variance of 52 negative is driven by wages and utilities both being under budget for 156 and bad debt being over budget for 97. So that explains the 232 negative variance in operating. For the reserves, the balance May 1st, the beginning of the year, was $5,704. We've made additions this year from the assessments of $3,705, and we've had capital expenditures of $2,648, making the balance at January 31st of our reserves $6,761. For our collections on our assessments, year to date, 98% of the assessments for this fiscal year have been collected, and the write-offs year to date are $205. Our receivables balance of $1,003 is made up of the components, as you see, $224 for the current year, $157, $145, and $477 for 4 years. And the 98% of assessments collected is a very good percentage. While we always want 100%, we actually compare ourselves and look at similar organizations, and we're definitely near the top as far as collections go. For capital spending, the actual capital spending year to date, $2,351, and that's a budget variance of $635. Bulkhead and waterways reserve balance is $1,837, and the spending for the year has been $45.
Thank you, Pat. General Manager report, Brett Hill.
Good morning. I'm going to start my report with Mumford's Landing because it's been, I guess, one of the hottest topics amongst the board. As an update on some of the projects from the last board meeting, the heaters that were approved at the last board meeting have been installed in the second floor kitchen. The security gates that were approved have been installed on both bars and are in place nightly at the end of the shift to secure the premise. The countertop for the first floor bar is still pending. We've been working with the contractor on finalizing the measurements and getting that installed properly. And our POS system is in the midst of some upgrades on our network necessary to support it. The software itself is approximately 50% deployed, and we're expecting that to be completed within the next 2 weeks. At this point in time, we have resumed our normal operating hours for the remainder of the off-season. Wednesday night is our karaoke night with DJ Donnie. Thursday night is our Buzz Time Trivia that's being moderated by Fred. Friday nights, we're continuing to carry our live entertainment in the second floor ballroom. This past week was Brian Clark. Next week, I believe we have Still Rockin' on the second floor. And those nights are our strongest night of the week and have been producing sellout crowds in the ballroom, so it's been very successful. Saturday, we're carrying live entertainment. We've been diversifying through some of the smaller acts that are comfortable playing on the first floor. The Full Circle Duo has been there, as well as Danny Shivers. Tonight we have First Class Duo, and they provide a lower key entertainment option for weekend entertainment. Sundays are a family night where kids eat free with a paying adult. I felt it important to note with all of the changes and now that we are into full-time operations, our month-to-date revenue on the facility is $51,298.17. That's as of 2 a.m. this morning on last night's closed receipts, with technically 2 more days left in the month for sales. Even without those 2 days, that is the highest revenue in February in the last 10 years. And those are the most relevant records I had to look at, and they're actually courtesy of Marty Clark in the reports he provides back on a regular basis and analyzing their financials for us. So I just thought that was significant to note the trends of where we've gotten to and the improvement of the club.
I have a question. I went to the yacht club Thursday night, only to find that the first floor bar, call it not Tuffy's Tavern, but the other one, was not open. And the person that I was with got very upset about that because they were thinking they were going to be sitting at the bar looking out at the view. So I think it's important when that situation exists, you say you're open, but that portion isn't really open, so maybe it would be best to define that.
And this week in particular, as I said, the contractor was working on the countertop. They had done work on that bar. They started in the beginning of the week, and they ran into some issues. Normally, on a night where we had a crowd like we do on Thursday night, that bar would have been open, but that bar was not fully functional for us, and they did some tweaks yesterday, which are going to get us through the weekend, but we're not 100% in them trying to modify that countertop for the bar. So, but hopefully that was a one-time anomaly. But we're with all the changes, we're still going through some upgrades. We want to make sure that by the time we're into peak season, everything is 100%. Our next largest project right now, I think it's having the most effort, is the golf clubhouse. If you haven't been by the golf course, the weather's fortunately been beautiful, so it's a great time to get some rounds in. We've had a phenomenal month on the course. The sales for last weekend alone exceeded the January and February combined sales for every period. We've been fortunate to have some great weather. Playing conditions are pretty good out there. But unfortunately with that, the building is not quite ready for that. We have no bathrooms on the first floor right now. They're in the midst of full remodel. The bar area has been demoed. The expansion to the dining area for the Turns Grill is in the works. They were framing walls on Friday to start redefining the space. We are on a timeline, of mid to late March for having everything 100% operational. The county's been very cooperative with us in working through our plans. The new HVAC units are on site, and our contractors are working with the county to make sure that we're meeting all their standards for the installation of those and begin to get those units installed. We hope to have the HVAC in place within the next week to 10 days. That will allow us to completely demo the old boiler unit, free up that additional space, the old blowers, and continue with the renovations. Overall, the project's been moving very smoothly, and we are excited that we're going fairly close to schedule, having that ready for the next golfing season. This breakdown, I know it's a little hard to read, will be available online. Denise will get this presentation posted so you can see the line working off of. The beach club bathrooms, again, this one will be online. It's pretty difficult to see. We are holding to schedule with our contractor, Willow Construction. They did run into some unforeseen issues after the full demolition. Some areas of further neglect behind the walls. There was our contract for pesticide maintenance had lapsed, so we had not treated the termites. We had done some termite damage. Working came in, and we got that addressed. And through a few little hiccups, but Willow is confident that they are going to be able to perform within the desired time frame. and they are working within their approved contingency for the necessary additional work to bring the project to completion. We are, at this point, fully anticipating the building will be ready at the end of April. They intend on having it ready for turnover to us by May 1, and we see no reason why we would not achieve our anticipated Mother's Day weekend for the use of the playgrounds, Huntington Playground. That project was almost to completion. It was bleeding some mulch and signage at the last board meeting. That's now 100% done. That is done 150 yards of mulch. We're meeting the full depth requirements for safety and fall protection. And it's a beautiful facility. If you haven't got a chance to go by and look at it, want someplace to take the kids or grandkids. They really did a great job over there. The Manklin Meadows Playground that was approved at the last board meeting. River Valley Recreation has all their paperwork in with the county. They were working through ADA compliance this past week with the county. All the equipment has been ordered, and due to the complexity of it, that's not something that ships like the next day. So we were on a 6 to 8 week lead time. We're working through that process. They're expecting the equipment to arrive in early April, and they anticipate having their crews on the ground April 17th, and they're expecting it to be a 2 to 3 week project. So we're looking at sometime early in May with that playground being complete, and then they'll have to put something on the county for us to actually. We're expecting that to be the Mumford's Landing Playground. That playground is due to be delivered on March the 8th. That was being built by a Amish contractor, and the Amish are going to be here on the 8th to build that on site. The fencing contractor will be here the 9th, and that playground will be should be ready for use for Friday 10th, which is yesterday. We're closing that one up very quickly. I don't have in the slides, but it's already been open for use. The new bathroom facility, we did clear all of our permits and the final punch list with the contractor, and that bathroom was opened last week and closed this weekend at the farmers market. Recreation Parks Department's taking control of that, and it's made that facility available for events on the weekends. At this point, it is only open during the farmers market. Once we get into the Easter egg hunt and more for springtime activities, the hours of operation will expand. People there to be out here to use it more. That's what I think.
Okay, we'll accept public comments. If you have any public comments, please limit it to a 5-minute time frame and state your name and address before you're speaking.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Schneider. I live at 5 Brookside Road in Bay Colony. I'm here to address some of the golf membership issues. I'm the immediate past president of the Women's Golf Association. 9 hole. We only have 9. My issue is family membership. I'll go there first. We, as far as I know, if we have any family memberships, it may be 2. Family membership in Ocean Pines is a married couple. If we had a 4-member family membership at the new rate that is to be approved today, each of those 4 people would be, in essence, paying $500 a year to join the club. As a single person, the new rate is $1,200. For a couple, i.e. family, it is $2,000. And I don't have anybody else with me. I'm the voice of whatever, and I'm always going by the words, if you don't ask, the answer is no. So I'm here to say that most of us singles are women. A lot of us are widows on pensions and limited incomes. I feel that the single membership shouldn't be no more than half of a couple membership or a family membership. I just feel like it's a penalty to single women. I myself am on a very fixed income, and I know several of the other ladies are as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Morning. I'm Chris Wanzer at 21 Cape May Place over in the park, and I would like to address some comments or information reference the Beach Club parking. I know that it's on the agenda, but I didn't want to give up my time to be able to speak, because I don't think you can speak down you're in the or ask questions when you're presenting. Correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. I wanted to look at and just ask the question because I did not see. Oh, first of all, excuse me. Thank Tom Herrick and Cheryl Jacobs for acknowledging my email that I sent yesterday to the entire board. I appreciated the comments back. I didn't see where the proposed $20,000, $25,000, several $1,000s, whatever the case may be, said that the progress said it's going into aquatics. Is that a correct statement? The extra revenue from the increase from 175 to 200, the additional money that's going to be generated goes to aquatics. Is that right?
Well, it's not a public back and forth, but
Okay.
I will make comment. No, I will make comment, and I respect for you is the fact that
I'm sorry.
the issue has not been finalized.
Okay.
Exactly what we're doing with the Beach Club, that's on the agenda for discussion today, so I really can't answer exactly what's going where.
Can I then just finish my other comments without
Sure.
you having to?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, of course.
I agree with, and I applaud what you're doing as far as if there are abuses, which I don't know any, I guess I'm naive, that cards and other things, that's fine, that's well and good to tighten that up. If the additional money is there that goes into aquatics, aquatics covers all of Ocean Pines and several other locations besides just there, and if that's the case, and it does go to the aquatics budget or a budget line, then why aren't the rest of aquatics paying for it? If that extra money is going to be for the beach, that's being assessed on the beach parking pass, then what are the new improvements that are happening over at the Beach Club pool? It seems like we're doing for the majority, but that we're raising this and paying something for elsewhere on the backs of the very, very popular, very profitable Beach Club parking. It's a wonderful treasure. Not saying that other things in Ocean Pines are not. It's just a very good area and amenity that we have. The other thing I can say is 14%. Wow. 175 to 200, a proposed 14% increase is amazing. I'm overwhelmed at that. You could take, as far as I said in my email, if I wanted to use it, I've used it maybe the pool 3 times in 10 years over there. When my grandchildren come down, I don't mind paying for them to be able to have the opportunity to go in there, take away all my privileges for, all I want to do is park and go to the beach. Use the bathroom, use the bar upstairs occasionally, but the pool is not that big of a draw for me and my family over at the Beach Club there. So I would hope that the discussion leads to $175 remains. That's what it is, the charge. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in the green shirt, sir.
Hello, I'm Brian Muller. I live at 134 Camelot Circle, Ocean Pines. Here to speak about the Beach Club parking. It's not clear in the information I was reading or understand on how the hang tag is going to be used going forward. I understand there's abuses. I'm not sure how much it's used, but I watched the budget meeting online. Thank you very much. Capability. Stated in that meeting there were 2,500 Beach Club members, and I understand we have 8,000 sites. So it seems not that many members are really utilizing it, though it to me it's the main amenity that I do use. I have adult children that come down and use my house. I have family members, siblings that come and use my house, and they go to the beach, use the hang tag, go to the beach. They really don't use the pool, so I'm with the other gentleman. Additional cost for the beach club, but because the beach tag continues and it's open to anyone in my house, not a rental place, it's just family and siblings. The other question I have is on the hang tag, I think the last 2 years they've been scanning. Does that tie back to a residence, and is there a way to track vehicles and usage of the hang tag and that scanning? I'm sure you have the data for that. Also, when you're going into the beach club pool, you have the card and they scan that as well. Shouldn't that be tied back to the house as well? Property. So.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Paul.
I know you were hoping I went to the other meeting. I know there's no
Just state your name and address, sir.
Marty Clark, 855 Ocean Park.
Thank you.
A quick question, and if you can't answer it, having mentioned the most recent unaudited financial statement, when are we going to take the 400 grand underneath the carpet in the cash room and apply it so it goes to a positive operating fund? I mean, we're having a positive year right now. We just haven't reported $408,000. Am I correct? That's what Art says. Same thing we did a couple years ago with Bob Thompson invention. Everything's terrible, everything's terrible, everything's terrible. Cha-ching, here's an extra 400 grand. We took it out of the Ocean Ponds Recovery Fund. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Is it going to ever be? I'm sorry? Of course it does. This is my wife.
Joe Reynolds is out of order.
Okay. Beach Club Park. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I don't care. If somebody's stealing in my business and I'm making the kind of return that we're making here, I'm going to just go home and have a cocktail. You know, the reason I heard another gentleman ask why would we increase the fee of our most successful amendment? Simple, because we can. That's all we're doing. It's a gouge. I'm sorry, people. It's a gouge. There's no justification for it. The that little tiny swimming pool, I know people have bigger pools in their backyard, is paying 18% of our membership right now today. And we want to take another, I don't know, it's hocus pocus because it just makes no sense. If it works, though, we ought to start charging for parking spaces at the yacht club. Maybe we'll turn that. Second issue, we're still taking the $600,000 unappropriated dollars and putting it in reserves. If I'm correct, the way I read the budgets as of recent. Are we going to call this the mini legacy fund? Am I at 5 minutes?
No, keep going.
Guys, I know why you're doing it, because you can. But that ain't a budget. The good news is you're under no pressure. If you guys all walk out of here and whistle and talk and celebrate at the yacht club for the next 10 days, the budget moves and stays the same next year without a vote. Personally, I think that's the least embarrassing out for you right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am.
My name is Donna Gable, and we live at 19 Easton Avenue in Park, part-time. My concern is also beach club parking increase. Don't quite understand it. As per previous comments, it is our most profitable amendment, and we do use it, we appreciate it. One of the concerns that I have is going to be increasing the fee, and then from what I read in the paper, if I understood it correctly, it's going to take away work passes to the pool. And personally, I don't know too many places that raise the price of an amenity and then cut back on it. I understand if there's abuse, you need to address it. Certainly, I don't want to pay for people who aren't paying the fees that we pay for Ocean Pines to use our amenities. I do have a suggestion. You're going to go to a photo ID. I would ask that you consider keeping 4 beach club passes, but maybe tying them to that photo ID. Like if our grandchildren are with us, they're not allowed to use the pool unless one of us are with them. Like maybe homeowners photo ID passes and then 2 guest passes. But I'm asking to reconsider taking away beach club passes, because we are going to be paying more for that amenity and then we're going to be getting less. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds.
Good morning, Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown Road. Couple of things. When you're speaking, please speak close to the mic. It can make a big difference what comes out of these speakers overhead when you're close enough. You got to get about 4 inches away from the speaker. I noticed the board package at recent board meetings, the board meeting packages have no longer been provided. That's been a change. I don't know why, but I think it's a good idea to provide it. I realize it's available on the web, but I think it's a good idea and it doesn't cost that much to provide it at the meeting. It was mentioned that the month-to-date sales at the Mumford's Landing, almost said yacht club, excuse me, for $51,292. What would the yacht club cost year to date, or month to date?
The costs are on accrual, so I don't have the full costs.
Okay.
I can look at the receipts, and that's what we have in real time.
You understand my point. Revenue without cost is an irrelevant figure in many cases, in terms of the bottom line. Board members are into this pretty heavily. You got all your packages and everything. I cover this stuff fairly closely, but my mind didn't process what MO6 covered, and I doubt there are few people in the room knows what MO6 is a part of, much less what it is. What is MO6? I forgot. What does that cover? The resolution?
Elections process.
Can you tell us what the legal issue with the proposal?
I think we can, but I think it's better offline.
Okay.
Not a secret. But
That's fine. That's fine.
And I can only add to that the committee is going to be reviewing recommendations, and you're welcome to attend committee's meeting, and then you'll find out in detail what those recommendations were.
Okay, thank you. And Brett, the bathroom chart, the next time you use a chart similar to that, would you provide magnifying glasses or something? It would be very helpful. Also for you, Brett, the convenience fee motion, are we now going to be charging to go to the bathrooms or what?
We'll discuss it when we get that. The convenience fee motion is a formality to formally accept a rate, the same as we're doing for interest, just so that we're 100% transparent with the charges made to association members related to the use of a credit card when purchasing an amenity or other merchandise to the administrative building.
Okay, so it's related to the 2.3% or whatever on the credit card?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. From a personal standpoint, then I would suggest that you take credit cards, but charge people to pay. Although, did Maryland law exclude the 2% on the assessment? Is that the case, or we decide not to do that?
The board voted to wait until fiscal 19 to address credit cards related to assessments.
Don't deduct the fee, please. We're just losing money now. Finally, as far as the budget goes, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this, but I've looked at the budget. I think other people have, some on this board, and some people I think perhaps in the audience think that this assessment this year should be going down And that to say that you're keeping it stable at the same amount is a disservice to the association members. If they looked at the budget carefully in your proposals, I think they would come to the conclusion that this assessment should go down $75 to $100. And with all due respect to you, Mr. Herrick, if what I read in the paper is correct, your statement that it wouldn't be a good idea to lower the assessment this year because we might have to raise it next year, I think that is fallacious thinking. I think if the assessment can be lowered this year, it should be lowered. If it needs to go up next year, it should go up. The assessment should be set for what we need now. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir in the back.
Name's Tom Byerly, live at 6 Oceans End. Couple things. First of all, Lakeview. Second of all, I read the articles in the paper, which only way I get really information other than coming here. And about the golf membership, there were so many numbers in there, so many different things going on. But the very bottom of the article said that if you're an Ocean Pines resident by sometime in May, you're going to be able to play 18 holes of golf for $25 with a cart. It also said you're going to be able to play 9 holes of golf with a cart for $15. But yet they talk about all the memberships and all this other stuff. The bottom of the article, I guess, was a price or whatever. Very unclear as to what it's going to cost to play golf if you're a resident as opposed to a public person who comes inside. So anyway, that's a confusing part to me. I'm not really sure. I do agree with you. Single people, a few of them, but they're paying pretty high prices. Last year I joined the pool, it's a couple $100, which is really, really cheap, but I went 3 times. This year I will not join the pool. I'll pay the guest membership when I go there. 1. 2, unless you're going to hold WWE wrestling in what you all call the yacht club, but it's Mumford's Landing, and you're still advertising on the radio for some events in March, yacht club. So either get it straight or change it back, because you all mentioned yacht club, yacht. Mumford's Landing, you have more name changes than new houses being built. So I think you ought to get it together and get one name. And second of all, Brett, go buy some drapes to cover up those chains, the fences, the security things. It's not attractive to sit in a beautiful place, beautiful view, the skyline, the bay, the whole bit, and look through gates to see it, or to have people sitting in there and have to look at the gates. Buy some drapes, put something on them, or take the gates down. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I did forget one thing on the golf membership, and he just reminded me. The 30/60 golf membership, if that's coming back, I don't know, to be voted on. But my understanding is that if it does come back and we are allowed 60 rounds of golf, that we will have no use of the range balls or the 20% discount in the golf course. I don't think that's fair. I think if you're a member of the golf course in any manner and those amenities to the golf course are part of the package, that you should, at least you should also be aware of that should be available to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone mentioned the word package may not be correct. Check.
Any additional public comments?
Yeah, that's one thing I forgot. Gold, forgive me. Just want to remind you, Section 2.03 of the bylaws, privileges of membership. Members and associate members, their guests, family members, residing with the members or associate members shall have the privileges of using recreational facilities and other amenities owned by the association. Amending and changing the parking at Beach Club and impact that. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Good morning. My name is
Carrie Harris. I'm at 83 Newport Drive. We're very new to the association, to the area, and my interest is in beach clubs. My husband and I have come here and rented for years, and now we have a privilege of living here. My issue is with the beach club passes. If you have to do 4 photo IDs in order to use that, there's only 2 of us, so we're still going to pay the fee and not have advantage of the other 2, unless, as the one gentleman said, we can have 2 guest passes for our grandchildren or children that come. Also, if you do pass the beach club and have the higher fee, I do recommend that you put a sign or something for the ladies that have to handle all that and let the people know it's not their fault. Thank you.
Thank you. Capital purchase request, mosquito control.
I brought this, it's more of a formality. I don't know if it was brought to the board before, but it exceeded my purchasing limit. Annually, through the Maryland Department of Agriculture, we retain the services to the Department of Agriculture for spraying for mosquitoes within the neighborhood. The annual cost to us is $19,000. I'm just asking for approval to continue with that because it's the $15,000 that I operate on.
We have a motion to accept the recommendation by the acting GM.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. I mean, it's not really a capital request, is it, Brett? Is it just the dollar limit?
It's a dollar
Yeah,
limit.
okay. So,
Yes, it really is operating.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
CPI violations?
The first violation I have today is for 1 Beacon Hill Road. It's in relation to propane screening. It's been in violation since December 1st, 2016. We have made several attempts to contact the owner. Tried both by phone and by mail. The letters sent by mail have gone unclaimed, and we've been able to have no contact, call action. The ARC committee has asked the board to take action against this and send this to council for council to pursue the owner and bring compliance.
I understand that, in fact, they did receive the certified mail. So I was wondering what, if any, contact we had had after the certified mail had been received. And then my second question is, you're recommending to refer to council, but for what action? How do you intend to make them come into compliance?
It would be to instruct council to take them to court to bring it into compliance.
No further contact after they receive certified mail?
There has been no contact since, and if it would go to council, their first step is they would provide 10 days notice. They would attempt to reach them one more time, and if they do not reach, then it would be taken to the system.
If I'm not mistaken, 3 letters were sent by it.
Didn't hear you.
If I'm not mistaken, 3 letters seem to have been sent by certified.
And it was only the last letter that was claimed, but we still had no response to that letter.
And Cheryl's question is good. Specifically, when we send this to attorney by action, for action, I always like to know what the specific action is going to be. Court order to require them to rectify.
That's correct.
How much are we going to pay an attorney to go through all that versus slapping up a screen ourselves and then charging them against their assessment. I mean, I think we need to weigh the cost of one action versus another.
Well, the attorney's costs, I believe, don't the attorney's costs on this action get reverted into them on their assessment?
I'm not sure. I don't want to answer that.
I don't either, but I thought that it did, and it was not a cost of the association, but it goes.
I mean, under normal circumstances,
because if we would bill them,
right? But I don't want to say that's the case here because I don't know that. Brett.
I don't either, but that was my belief.
Can we put up a screen? Legally, legally, not the ability to.
We can, but we would have to bill. I mean, for the screen.
So we
no
have
different than billing them for
the attorney.
We will bill.
If that's the board's desired action, we can certainly take that. That's why it's here in front of the board.
Do we know what their situation is in terms of being up to date with their assessment? That would be a consideration.
Apparently, reading this, they are.
Yeah, I don't have any information of delinquency.
There's an area that mentions assessments. It's blank, Cheryl.
Yes.
Indicating that there aren't any issues with assessments.
Do we know if this owner has been in violation in the past, or is this the first time?
I don't have any information of any previous violations.
Well, I can tell you I'm not in favor of having us go into the property and put ourselves in any kind of risk position. I'd rather refer to the attorney as we have in the past with other CPI violations.
You making a motion to?
I'll make a motion that we find the owners in continual violation. Recommend that we send the matter to attorney in order to have courts take the appropriate action.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Going to make a discussion for vote. Still not too late. I was going to make a comment as part of the discussion, but you already called and took a vote, so I guess it's too late.
What's the violation?
So screening a propane tank. Screening on a propane tank.
I would say.
It looks like there's more than one violation.
That's what I was wondering. What about all that other stuff?
Yeah. Is that all you noticed? That's what it's going to be like.
ARC only brought us the propane screening, so that's all. The rest of that.
Okay. 59 Moonshell Drive.
59 Moonshell Drive has been in violation since 11/17/2016. It's being brought forward for missing fascia on the garage. The request is the same as the previous, where the ARC committee is asking the board to send this to the attorney for action, in which case the attorney would attempt to make contact. All of the letters to this particular homeowner have gone unclaimed, including the final letter. Not been able to make any contact with them, and the numbers that we have, the phone numbers that we have for the owner, one of them is stating it's a business line, or they're not on that line, and the second number we have is no longer in service. So we've not been able to have any contact with them in any manner whatsoever. This would be the same previous with the attorney's contact 10 days to comply, and failure to comply sent reports to force compliance.
I move that we follow the recommendation to send first find them in continuing violation. Send the send to the OPA attorney for action to instruct to request the court. We say to take appropriate action, but I would also add to consider giving us permission to repair the problem. I mean, if you're going to go to court, find out what you can do completely, then we can do it or not. But repairing the product looks like on this fascia thing that we can do it, and we can build it. And we're not, and they're not in arrears right now, so.
I'll second that, Dave.
Discussion.
I'd like to ask if it would make more sense to have a lawyer to instruct a legal counsel to generate a letter coming from a lawyer to the homeowner, giving final notice to make any repairs and giving it a deadline before further court actions, legal actions are taken. Hoping that maybe a letter from a homeowner would actually generate more results than a certified letter from the association. So I would be in favor of suggesting that as a next step as opposed to proceeding with the actual legal actions.
That is the first step in it. That is the first step when we turn it to council, is the council does send a letter. They have 10 days to respond or comply. And if they do not have a response within 10 days, then it goes to the court. That is their standard procedure.
The reason I brought it up because of Dave's proposed motion that wasn't clear in terms of what the next step up. That seems to be a question. What do we ask the legal to do? But it sounds like that's what the legal is to do as part of the standard process. A letter is the next step.
Any further discussion?
Just clarification, Dave, your motion is to refer the case to the attorney to find them in continuing violation and ask for advice from the attorney, correct? Because I heard mention of going on the property and making a repair.
No, we want the attorney to take the appropriate action. The action procedure described is first he'll send a 10-day letter.
Right. All right.
To which we usually get no response, and then he'll take it to court. And what we want to find out at court is whether or not we can proceed, get permission to fix the problem, or simply have the court order them.
But fixing the property is not part of us fixing the property is not part of the motion.
Yeah, I want to make sure that's very clear. We are not.
This is
stepping
simply the attorney.
No, that's the attorney
proceeding with the legal remedy
to find out what our remedies are, and if that is a remedy. No question.
Cheryl.
I think you're still muddying your motion by what you're saying, because you're saying we're going to take them to court, they don't respond to the 10-day letter, and we're going to find out in court what the court says legally if we can go on and fix it. So
yeah.
I don't think that's an appropriate motion.
No. So you think that whatever,
pick one.
Go into court, pick one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to court and ask those kinds of questions to get a declaratory judgment. I don't think that's what you really want to know here. You really want the attorney to try to get them to fix it. We can find out separately what legal rights we have to go on to fix it, but you're muddying your motion by throwing that in along with it. So pick one or the other.
Okay, I'll pick the first one.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
3 Beach Court.
3 Beach Court. This has been a violation since November 17th of 2016. This is we did leave a phone message with no contact back on February 16th, 2017. They have not received any of the mail, not deliverable at the address record. The property is in violation for missing fascia, and the ARC is requesting us to take the same action as the previous case, where we would send to council would send a 10-day letter, and if no response to the 10-day letter, request a declaratory judgment. Is that the correct motion now in verbiage?
You didn't have to throw that.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
745 Ocean Parkway.
745 Ocean Parkway. This has been in violation since July 14th of 2014. It was in front of the board on October 23rd of 2014 and October 22nd of 2016. The board instructed Public Works to make the repair. Public Works attempted to, but there was too much structural damage to complete repairs. At this point, the request from the ARC committee is that this go to the attorney for action, because it's beyond their capabilities. So we'll be requesting attorney letter, 10 days to respond, and if not, pursue declaratory judgment.
Is there a motion to accept the recommendation by the general manager on the property in continuing violation?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Question, other than a phone call on February 16, 2016, there was no activity from the association since basically a year ago. Is that correct? Or no attempt made since February of last year?
Looks like our attorney in January of 15. And I guess that.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same records that you do, and if the attorney reached out to him before and there was not compliance, I don't see any other course rather than going back to the attorney to pursue further action.
I see that. What I'm just asking is that really no effort has been made by the association other than Public Works doing the inspection, finding it in continuous violation. But there was no follow-up effort made by the association via either certified letter or a phone call since February of last year, according to the violation that I'm looking at. So my question is, should we make another attempt, certified letter before sending it over to legal?
I mean, the attorney is going to send a letter. I as old as this is, this property is in very, very poor condition. I would think the attorney is the route to take right now.
Question, looking through the ledger here, on the January 8th of 2015, the attorney contacted, had repairs made. Do we have any response back from that effort by the attorney on file at all?
No.
So we have nothing from the attorney from the last time we brought it back up in January 15th. All right, maybe we should make sure that the attorney's aware of that, and then we expect some follow-up, at least some documentation on the progress or the actions taken by the attorney, so we have something on record file. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going into some old business. We've had many budget discussions. There's a couple issues that we have not finalized yet. We'll do the easy one first. The easy one.
Yeah, that's the easy one.
That's next. That's next in the
Oh, okay.
packet.
It's,
I'm only kidding.
The budget was first on the agenda. The budget was, yeah, and Cheryl's asking for first the order.
Oh, yeah.
budget started to talk like that's where you were going, and so I was just asking.
Technically, we accepted the agenda.
Yeah.
No, there's actually a procedure by which you can, ask for, and I don't have my Roberts with me, but in fact, you can ask that an item be moved up on the agenda at any time during the meeting, and if the board agrees, we can do it. I mean, you have to trust me, otherwise I'll go home and get my Roberts and pull it. I'll send it to you after.
Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
To reorder the agenda.
To reorder the agenda.
She's asking to reorder the agenda and make the 50th anniversary motion first. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, 50th anniversary committee, support Doug Parks.
So move to publicly state and memorialize that the Ocean Pines Board of Directors hereby provides their full support to and endorsement of the Committee of Volunteers for the celebration of 50 years of Ocean Pines, along with the appointment of Director Cheryl Jacobs to facilitate the coordination and implementation of activities by working with both the General Manager and the various staff representatives necessary for the successful execution of the celebration. Background: the intent is to ensure public awareness of the board's support of the 50th Anniversary Committee and to establish a consistent and organized approach to communicating relevant information to all required parties.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was the easy one. And by the way, the correct procedure, I believe, is to table that motion till other business is conducted. Then you bring it up and we take care of it, the other business. You're looking at me skeptically.
Yeah, well, I think we just disposed of. Yeah.
All right, continue the budget discussion. Beach Club parking pass. Mr. Hill.
I'll start this conversation back with the latest staff recommendation, which was presented on Tuesday of this week, which from the staff recommends that under the previously approved $200 parking pass to amend that configuration so that with the purchase of a $200 pass, which is not associated with any other membership, the resident will be able to choose between a Beach Club pool membership under the family guidelines of a traditional Ocean Pines membership with pictures, or receive a swipe card valued at $120, which would allow them to use the Beach Club pool for anyone they should so choose. When they use this card, they would be charged the coupon rate, which is the rate associated for prepaid pool swipes. That is $7 for adults and $5 for children in this current budget. The parking pass would be used in the same manner as in the past, where the pass would be scanned in by any card entering with a valid pass. And with that, I just want to note, Michelle had pulled up some historicals on the Beach Club parking. And going back to fiscal 1993, which was 25 years ago, at that point in time, the Beach Club parking pass was a Beach Club parking pass only. There was no pool associated with it. The annual charge was $100. When you apply that to the cost of living change for the 25-year period, that same pass on fiscal $18 would be $172.86. So in this proposal, with a cost of living adjustment for the 25-year period for the additional $27 roughly, and $27.14 to be exact. We're now adding $120 in value in full swipes for the family membership. So I think the question of increasing the price too dramatically, while it has stayed the same for several years, when you look at where we're going for cost of living over the historic period, we're keeping that price within a very reasonable increase.
Any discussion?
Was that a motion?
Yeah,
There's no.
Well,
I lost track.
This is
No
just-
motion.
Okay.
This is a budget discussion. I'm throwing ideas back and forth and trying to find common ground.
Okay, I just, maybe what I think Brett said and what it sounded like he said, I just want to be sure that I'm clear on the process. With a $200 part, all you're going to pay is $200. With that $200, you either get the photo IDs for your family members, or you get a swipe card that do not pay additional for the swipe card. It's X number of passes that will charge off against each time. You don't pay that $120.
No, that $120 in swipe card value is the or option if the family membership does not fit your immediate needs and you wanted that for children or grandchildren. And when you look at the numbers on that essentially would yield on a traditional 4-pass option 7 full days for 2 adults and 2 children. So if the daily rate of $7 for an adult and $5 for children, you multiply the $7 for adults times 7 days, that's $35. 2 adults would be $70.
7 days times $7 for adults, 49.
Oh, hold on, where am I? Somewhere I had a math on here. This came out to about 7 days of everybody using it. It's been a long week, let me tell you.
7 times 7 is 49.
Yeah, 49. And I'm sorry, 5 days.
Okay,
5 days.
There you go.
5 days for the full group.
And you would have the option after that of buying more just regular pool passes.
But
for that pool if you wanted.
And at the member rate, because you would be a member through the Beach Club parking, so you'd be able to get that discounted pool rate applied in the prepaid mechanism.
You talk about children and grandchildren. In fact, is there any restriction on this? Do I have to get a grandchildren pass or ID?
It's an open swipe card, and it has a fixed dollar amount to it.
Whoever has it can use it.
The bearer of the card can swipe whoever they want. And if you hand the card off to your friend or some random person on the street, the full value is there for whoever holds that card to use it until the value is depleted. And then it would be up to the member to re-up the card, the same as we do on our other prepaid cards that have currently been in place for several years.
So, in talking to a number of folks about this issue, while I think that it's a very reasonable approach to have that $120 card swipe, and we've all gone back and forth, we've had a number of iterations, discussions about this, but I think that presupposes that you're going to use Beach Club. So, and I think there's some amount, some number, some percentage of our constituency that have stated that I go to the Beach Club, either go to the ocean or I just go to the Beach Club itself for a lunch and a cocktail. And so now and I don't want to use the word forcing, but there's no other option but to carry that that full pass, even though you may never use it. One of the arguments that I shared with you guys is if I have family come in town, twice, say 3 times, and they only use it that much, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting that $120 worth of swipes, by choice, of course. But I don't see the value in that going forward. Again, for somebody who goes a lot, yeah, I see that being perfectly reasonable. Now we're, quite frankly, sort of the philosophy is we're already subsidizing the place, and yes, I agree that the parking pass has some value. You should have to charge for that. The increase and enforcing someone who doesn't use the pool, to me, just somewhat incongruous. So I just have a tough time having to pay for something I don't get value from.
Just a clarification from Brett on two things. Your proposed membership does not favor decoupling parking pass only from beach swipe card for the beach pool. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the second question I have is the $120 pool pass, which amounts to $7 for adults or $5 for adults, for children. Is that only for the beach pool and no other pool?
As that was proposed by staff, that is correct.
And if I was to buy a daily pass, say at the Mumford's Landing or adult pool, would I have access to any other pool with that daily pass?
Yes, on a traditional daily pass, you would, but
the reason I'm asking this question is because I'm not a user of either amenity, but it sounds like we have two different policies we are now introducing. We have an adult daily pass for other pools, which I think is $8, but for beach-only pool is $7, and the beach-only pool pass is only for the beach pool, while other pool passes that we buy at other locations are for any of the other pools. So it kind of starts confusing the issue because we are really, and I don't know if there's a need for two policies here.
if you wish to offer a friendly amendment to make that pass a pool coupon rather than a beach club pool coupon, and that gets us to a more acceptable compromise, I don't see where that's unreasonable. I do, as we've had too many of the discussions, to the principle of decoupling that poses many other liabilities into the other plans we've executed in conjunction with this change in Beach Club, and I think a more friendly amendment to get a better compromise around the use of the passes is our best option to bring this subject to closure.
Cheryl.
I wanted to address what Doug brought up, and that is the parking pass situation as it exists now is exactly the same situation. It's only $25 more. If you buy the parking pass and you didn't take advantage of those pool passes that came along with it, okay, but you still bought the parking pass and chose not to use the pool passes that came along with it. This is trying to address an increase, given that, $25 increase in the parking pass. But I don't think your argument about, well, we don't use the pool passes, well, if you didn't use them in the past, this is no different, except that it's trying to address, from my perspective, a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from community members and things that we've discussed among ourselves in terms of, we're taking away those 4 passes, but what can we do to still make it of value to people by the fact that we are making it an increase in the cost? And so what I think we've come up with, not only through the staff recommendations and what we've discussed among ourselves, is some way of addressing what the community has said in the emails that they've sent us and to what people have talked about here, and that is with the swipe card, you can still have the use of that, and it's going to just has a fixed amount of swipes associated with it. You can do it, you can bring a whole group of people one day and swipe away, and once it's depleted, that's it. And then you buy coupons. I don't know what the right amount of that is, if it's something different than the other pools. But we are treating that pool sort of the same way we treat the other pools. Once you've depleted your swipes, then you buy coupons, just like you do for any of the other pools. So I think, your argument about, well, I never used the pool, well, that was, I just bought the pass, but that you understood that when you bought the pass, and it's no different now, except that it's just slightly more expensive. And it gives more flexibility to those people who had concerns about more passes being.
Sure, point taken, and you're right. I think what what I've heard in discussions were, well, we were at $175 and we had that option, but the onus was on the purchaser whether or not they would use 4 pool passes. And so that aside, now all of a sudden, we've got a $25 increase for that same condition. I think some people are just going, well, why am I paying $25 more for the option of whether or not I'm going to use the pool passes? I mean, your point is taken. You accept that responsibility. I agree with you. I think that if we do, and some of the people that have talked with have said, well, what about the people who don't really, want anything to do with the pool? And I just want to make sure we don't overlook them in our discussion. And we haven't. I mean, obviously, all the discussion we've had clearly has everybody in mind. But in all of these iterations that we've had, there was actually talked about decoupling, and there was some momentum there, and then we kind of went in a different direction, and so on and so forth. I think we really do need, whenever we increase something, I think we really need to make sure that we exhibit and can convey the value to the membership. And I'm just not sure we're there yet. I mean, both, again, the 120, valid argument. I won't say anything, in regard to that, but not everybody's going to perceive it that way. It's just the cost of doing business.
I thought that. I thought that we talked about the increase, and we're going to extend days and hours at the beach club. That's huge for me. I've always wondered why it late closed early to me. And we're also doing some much needed, but significant renovations. So I do think there is, and I agree with you, Doug, totally. When we increase this kind of percent, we should be sure that there's a value for that. And to my mind, the extension of the hours and the renovations support that kind of an increase this year. And in addition, I also support Slobodan's idea of the pool passes can be used at any, and that, so that adds value also.
Yeah, I believe that's the best compromise. Mr. Trendick's adjustment to allow that pass to be used for any pool. The parking pass in the past was sold as a parking pass with free pool passes attached. And basically that led to an abuse at that amenity to the detriment of the entire association. So the added value is the fact that although the parking pass, whether you use the pool or not, now you're getting passes to any pool to be used by anybody in your family, which addresses the grandchildren. To me, that's the added value. Now you can use any pool with that swipe if you want. So I think that could work in favor of those, and I think it's fair and equitable, while at the same time protecting the bottom line of the association. So I will also be in favor of the amendment by Mr. Trendick. Okay.
Yeah. All along, I believe that there were 2 issues, and 2 separate issues. One is, which is expressed by several other people here, that there are people who simply move to Ocean Pines because of the ocean beach, and the one thing that they want to do is be able to go to the beach and have a place to park. Over, the history, that parking has been coupled to what's called free. So how can something free bother? But in fact, the free had a cost to us, and that cost has been made obvious, I think, over the last several years. And the coupling, of course, and the way we had been doing business, what brought all of this up, is the fact that we decided it was unsatisfactory with anybody being able to use these passes. I'm not sure how much the difference would be now. But my question, what I believe is that people should have an opportunity to go to the beach and park and not have to, and at a lower rate, because they're not using the pool. They don't want to use the pool, they can't use the pool, and they have no interest in it. So that's one issue. The other issue is, well, how do you fix what we've been doing all along to make it, well, first of all, to protect the association, and second, make it equitable for families who have pools. I think this is a good solution to that particular. So if the sense of the board is not to decouple it, which I strongly believe we should do. And I can certainly agree to the amendment to our current procedures. Yes.
So with the feedback of, I believe, everyone here, I would like to officially make a motion to adopt the policy for the $200 that was approved for the budget. That $200 would give the option of a Family Beach Club pool membership or a pool coupon for use at any pool with a $120 credit. That would be applied at the coupon rate of $7 for adults and $5 for children for use to swipe at any pool on the daily rate.
I second that motion.
As part of the discussion, I just want to follow up on what Director Stevens stated. The emails that we got addressed to the board and addressed to many of us individually, and the phone calls, what resonated as one of the key issues that I heard members express is the loss of flexibility, which the proposed motion really addresses in terms of getting the swipe card at value X. So that, I think, satisfies most of the concerns that we have heard individually and collectively as a board. And I feel the board is responding to those concerns. The issue of decoupling that Mr. Stevens brought up, I still like that idea, and I would like to ask the board that spend a little more time discussing this, because the other feedback we received from the members, including this morning, is that many of them do not use pool at the beach club. And while the proposed motion brings additional revenue to aquatics department, I think what we are trying to do as a board is put together an amenity fee structure that's really going to be attractive to the majority homeowners. So I would be also very much in favor of spending more time discussing Director Stevens and I think also Director Parks' decoupling idea, and see if we can come up with first the agreement to do so and at what value that should be offered.
Okay, well, I'm going to call an up and down vote for the motion that's on the table by Brett Hill. All in favor for the Beach Club Pass as presented in the budget for this coming fiscal year? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 4-3. Yes. Okay, proposed golf 3060 limited membership. Dave Stevens has put forth a motion that the 3060 golf membership be implemented as an individual membership, but it carry all the benefits of early tee times pro shop discounts as the other memberships, with the exception of range privileges. Yes, Dave.
Yeah. One of the, it takes a little bit of history now, but we had a 30-round limited membership in the past. And I think when that was first constructed, and I was there, Bob Kessler was there, Jim Meisler, principals. I mean, the idea at that point was 30 rounds, also equated 9 hole rounds. When Billy Casper took over, they basically, created their fee structure, which disallowed 9 hole rounds using that membership. That membership just, I think, almost went away in terms of numbers of people taking. At any rate, So the principal point of this motion is to reestablish that. The reasons for doing it is that women play 9 holes, and they also need members to play in these 9-hole events. And it would be if no point to them to get a 30-round, only 18-hole membership. I mean, that's one reason. The other reason is that more and more players are playing 9 holes, and in our age group, it's more popular. So it's a good addition, I believe. It's something that's not out of line. Now, in terms of the benefits that should go with it, it is a membership. Tee times, of course, privileges come along with it. Why everything except the range? Well, I think in discussions and various people involved in the discussions, I think there was kind of a consensus that we needed to provide something for full membership for people who sign up for family or individuals sign up for the entire year. And this range privilege is something that was associated with no memberships in the past. So to say it's or to apply it to the full memberships, again, increasing the benefit. There's, I see no difficulty with that. It shouldn't be. We're reducing the rates for everybody across the board in this golf course. Anyway, that's the rationale and the reason for the motion. And it is supported by the Golf Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Brett?
Well, I had 2 comments. First of all, when we talked through this at the budget work session, my understanding of where this was left was that the range was included for only the individual holding the membership, but we had agreed that the use of the swipes or rounds or however we were deducting could be shared, and whether that be, essentially it was at the discretion of the individual. It was prepaid rounds, but they were, in that prepayment, they gained the benefit of a full membership, and at the end of the use of the rounds, as what Director Jacobs indicated, those privileges would be revoked. So if you use all of them up by the end of June, your membership privileges, that range benefit and everything else, disappear. And I wanted, that was where I supported it, and so that was my first comment. The second being, and the reason why I supported that mechanism, and I don't really feel strongly in pulling those benefits away, is with what we've done to bring down the daily rates. If you are using that throughout the year, once you get into the off season, the daily rates are so low, there is not a benefit in prepaying. You're better off just paying a daily rate and not being a member. And I think for us, we want to show growth in membership, and this limited membership is a way to attract new members and give them a benefit that they might not be able to take. If you're someone that's not going to play every week during the peak season, you're really better just paying a day rate, but we still want you to be a member. And I felt this was a good way to bring people in and do that. And with the daily rate so low in the off season, you kind of need something to counteract the fact that you prepaid at a rate of $40 a round, and the day rate's $25 once we get to October. That was my position, how I looked at it.
Okay, the reason why this whole 36 came up is we're trying to simplify the memberships. The premier membership is the full membership, and that's why for the first time we're offering free range to that specific membership, because that's the membership, that's the premier membership, that's the one we want to draw the most and have full members. So we offered something that's never been offered before as something to entice people to sign up for that full membership. And that was specific to that category because that gives us the most upfront money to start, whether they use the entire membership or not. So I think by you giving that to a limited membership, that benefit, it takes away and diminishes the full membership, which I think is the most important membership for us to offer. In addition, the reason why we broke it back into 30-60 and allowing 9-hole play is because we realized that a lot of the people in the community are older people, or they may not have time to play a full 18, and this offers them the benefit of having a 9-hole limited membership with other benefits that go with the membership, though it's considered limited, with the 20% discount and the extra day for the tea time reservation. So that's an enticement for someone to play in the summer. It's really a summer membership as well for snowbirds, because a lot of people go down south and they will not buy that full membership. So this gives them the flexibility of having a limited membership, and basically it's a summer membership for them, and they can use it for 18 holes or 9 holes. And of course, if they use that and only played that during the summer, they could get the advantage of playing by daily rates in the wintertime. So this wouldn't be a membership that you would use all year round, like a full membership. In addition, the women's group lost 9 members the first year it changed, because you need to be a member to join that, and that's the only women's golf association membership that we have playing at our course. So we're also adding this 3060 to benefit them as well. So I think you're addressing the needs of 3 distinctive groups that need something that's to offer. I believe that this membership will be very popular the way it stands, and I think it addresses the needs of those 3 groups. So in addition to the full membership, I think this is something that we should keep. Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, as proposed, this is an individual membership. So you buy 3060 as an individual, just as you would an individual golf. And, you can speculate on, try and work through numbers and advantage, but why people do things in terms of buying membership is not all a mathematical calculation. It's being a member. But we can say, I don't know what will happen, but what has happened, we saw. We saw that once we went from what was effectively 3060 back to 30 under our golf management companies, that the membership virtually disappeared. And we believe we claimed that by taking this. And it's we've, I think, benefited with our proposal golfers across the board, members of golfers. Anyway, it's individual, and we believe I think the golf committee believes it will stimulate growth in membership.
Any further discussion?
I'm not even sure what the 3060. I was under the impression, as Brett was, I'm not sure what we're voting, or if we're going to have a motion, and what is the 3060?
Well, the motion that I read that they put forth the entire board, that's what's on the table, right?
And that is modified now from what we discussed in budget, that it does not include range and it does not include any other use other than the individual named on that limited membership. Is that correct?
The way it's proposed at this point is exactly correct.
That's correct.
So just,
Tom?
Tom. Point of clarification. So I buy this, I've got, 30 rounds or 69 rounds or 69 hole rounds, right? What you just said, I'm the only one that can use it.
That's correct.
The way it's proposed now.
Yeah, the way it's proposed now.
Yes.
You talked about some
Yes.
iterations
You
on
have,
that, but right now only I can use it. I can't take my wife and we can't go play 9 holes.
The way it's proposed now, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Do you have any amendment?
Well,
if we do, we go back to where we were.
Right, yeah,
We can amend it and vote on it, but I won't accept it.
Then I'll make the motion so we can keep it friendly.
It's real discussion. We can come to a compromise or agreement. A compromise or agreement, it's not so much a motion, this is part of budget discussion, how we want to proceed and what we think is best and how we compromise it out. Something that we all agree.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, say, okay, this is the motion and that's it. We're here for budget discussion. What's the best way to proceed? And we can talk it out.
So it seems like there's 2 lines of thought, and I think we need to decide which way you want the up-down one. Is it individual only with no range balls, or is it individual with shared use of the swipes or rounds, and that the range balls and the membership benefits are attached to the individual holding it.
Well, Brett, this is no different than the last discussion. I mean, we did an up down on your motion. It came out 4-3 in favor. And we won't call it a motion. We'll call it a proposal instead. And I have a proposal. I mean, it's been vetted by the Golf Advisory Committee. It's based upon years of experience with golf and the different memberships that we have. And if the board doesn't want that, it wants something else, then it's free to devise something else. But that's where we stand right now.
All right, to move forward, why don't we break it down? It seems to me there's two issues. One of them is, do we include the range balls with the limited membership? And let's take it apart piece by piece. Let's have a vote on that. The range balls included, yes or no? All
I
in favor?
object to that. I think if we have a proposal on the tabletop, I mean, that proposal states that the range balls, that this is an individual membership. It is similar to the individual memberships that we have had in the past, going back 10 years. It's similar to that. It goes back to its original form in which we had 9 holes were allowed as part of the membership. Now it's identical to what it was originally conceived to be. And it adds benefits to the people, I mean, clear benefits to the people who are adopting it now. And far more favorable than what they have now. Now, if you want to change it to something else and a different membership, I'll recuse myself from that because we've talked about this a lot. I mean, not just meeting here and there, and with the people that I think were most knowledgeable about what has happened and where we're going. So I believe we have a proposal on the table, and dissecting it is basically changing it. I mean, it's just basically making it something different.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Being the non-golfer here, so
There's more than one.
I just want to make sure I understand what the two different things are that we're talking about. So, Dave,
Yes.
what you're saying is the 3060 is only used by an individual.
Correct.
It does not come with the ability to use the range as a package part of that. So you'd have to pay additional to go the range.
Sure.
And it doesn't include a cart.
Oh, yes, it
It
does.
does. Okay, so that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. So
Absolutely.
it does come with a cart, and it does come with a 20% discount in the pro shop. And that's it.
And the ability to make tea times at the same time as well.
Oh, okay, tea time. So that's what I'm asking. Now, Brett, just so I understand your alternative. It's the same 3060, but it is not limited by an individual. It comes with a swipe card that can be used by whomever until the number of swipes associated with that are depleted. Does it come with also the ability to use the range or not?
I said yes, and it would be for the individual holder. So if it's my 3060, Brett Hill, get my 20% membership discount in the pro shop, and I get the ability to use the range. But if I choose to bring a guest, rather than them paying the guest fee, they could take one of my 30s or 60s away from me, and that will be just credited out of my prepaid rounds.
And yours comes with a card as well? No.
Everything else is the same.
Oh, okay.
Just
All
the
right.
ability that my uses could be used by someone other than me with me.
And the range.
Oh, with
And
me,
the
but
range.
you have to stipulate that. With you.
Well,
With you. Well, it's important. It is important.
I think we talked,
So it's
I
kind
mean, I think that's what we talked
Yeah.
about. That's what we talked about the other day, which is where I thought we were, Dave. I'm not, I thought we were had agreed to that when we left the meeting the other day. Rightly or wrongly,
Yeah.
that's the way
That's
I felt.
that's what I felt.
That was, yeah, I think you were mistaken again.
Yeah.
What? We
I would-
talked about it, and then we stopped talking about it. We didn't make any up and down vote or anything of the kind. So, you want to go back over the meeting?
Well,
Well, the up-down votes now, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, what's it?
Yeah, we have the two kind of set there, right?
So we have Dave first.
well,
Well,
I think there's feelings amongst the board to come to an agreement or a compromise where if you buy that particular limited membership, if you are there with the guest or family member, they would also be able to get that rate.
Well,
Is that what
yes,
I'm understanding?
and I
That
will
you can use
maintain
that?
that if you're using it as a swipe card, you don't have a membership. Don't have a membership. You have a swipe card. You can play the golf course. You can get a card. Do all of those things. But you're not a member.
Well, you have
I
the
think we're
membership.
just-
You have the membership rights in your name. You're the member. You get the advanced tee time. You get to get the 20% off. But if someone comes as a guest with you to play, they could use the swipe, one of your swipes.
And get the 20% off.
No. It's an individual
No,
membership.
Just
It's an individual membership, but you have bring the guest to play on that pass if you so want to use the swipe. That's where they're going to. It's not, no one else gets the benefit.
Correct.
It's in one person's name. It's a membership, a limited membership for that particular individual. But you can bring a guest or a wife or a family member to get that rate if you so wish to use one of your swipes for that person. And I think that's the general consensus. In addition, the other issue here is, do you get the full benefits of a full member, even though it's only a limited membership, and give the free range?
No.
First of all, just giving away the free range balls, that's a big step to do for a full member. There was a cost involved. There was a $30,000 revenue stream from that, and I don't know how far you want to go by giving that away, especially with the limited membership. I personally am against range balls because it's a limited membership for a reason. It's called limited. It's not a full membership.
Tom, if I may, since I don't play golf and I'm not familiar with market trends as far as that's concerned, but fundamentally my question is, between the two scenarios, I guess which one is going to ultimately achieve the desirable result, which is a full-blown membership to the associations, golf as an amenity. Which one is going to be more attractive and more appealing to our homeowners? That's what I'm struggling with, because I don't have that experience. And I think only you who play golf and the homeowners who play golf really have the answer to that. So I'm kind of really handicapped here by which way do I vote, because both seem to have advantages and disadvantages. Brett's suggestion, along with what Doug and Pat echoed, has more flexibility in terms of being able to bring a companion to play with.
I'm in agreement with that.
And Dave has a slightly different proposal. So I would like to favor the one that's going to provide the most revenue and the most appeal to members who have not used our facility and are playing surrounding golf courses because they find their offering more appealing.
I think that, in my mind, anyway, I know we talked about increasing rounds. To me, this would, I think, would increase rounds. I could see somebody like me. I play a little bit of golf, and my family plays. I could definitely see somebody like me, and I'm sure. And there seem to be lots like me that have, extended families that come down and stay. To me, this would be a very popular type membership to have. And then you'd have that membership, limited membership privilege, in addition to the ability to have swipes for other people. So I think it might increase the number of rounds.
Doug?
Yeah, Thomas, you and I had this conversation the other day about, what would motivate people to want to join? Number one, if you had the flexibility to play 9 rounds, I'm picking on my wife, say, want to go out with her. I'm more motivated to buy up front. And by the way, that money now is in our pockets, all right? Up front, 40 rounds, knowing I have that flexibility. Even if you didn't give me the range, or even if you said, well, Doug, as a member, you get the range, but your 3 other folks that you invited that day can't get a free range ball. That's immaterial. I think you don't even give the range balls away. I think it's a limited membership, like you said, Tom. But you know what? That would motivate me to want to play 40 rounds. Oh, by the way, while I'm at the golf course, I'm going to go to 30. $40. Yeah, 30 rounds. So I'm at the golf course, I'm at the Turns Grill, I'm spending money there as well. Whereas if I didn't have that opportunity, let's say I go pay as you go, I may only play, 18 times, okay? So there's lost revenue. And quite frankly, with that option, it becomes guaranteed revenue for you. Whether or not I show up, doesn't matter. You still, the association still has money. I'd be motivated to pay the $1,200 if I had that flexibility to go with a guest, given the restrictions of no range balls, no 20% discount in the pro shop. I think as I would agree with Pat, that would motivate, I think, a lot of people to just, hey, it's worthwhile. Let's go. I can get 30 or 69 9-hole rounds. And I think it's a great idea to have that flexibility, not just a single use.
Well, I'll say one more time. You're just changing it. It's not a membership. What you can do. If I've got a group of 16 guys over in the park that go out and play golf, at Eagles Landing or the Bay Club or something like that, you say, well, next year let's one of us get the limited membership. You come in, you get 4 guests, as you said. You bring 4 guys or 3 guys home, and you all play at that. We're just offering a reduced rate to which are already to pretty much anybody who wants to sign up. And yeah, you'll get more golfers down there, but you're also lowering non-member rates significantly by doing it. You think people won't figure that out?
Well, you won't really know the rate until the end of the year when you find out how many of the 30-60 actually got used, right? If somebody buys that card and plays 2 rounds.
That's correct.
So.
That's correct, but this increases the chance that somebody will buy the card, that the rate will go down. Because of the unlimited guests. So it is.
No, it's not unlimited. It's whatever the limit is up front, which is 30 rounds. So, it is limited. And in your scenario, Dave, at least we're bringing people in who might not have been playing here before, and then they might come back, and they might want to be a member. So you're enticing them to at least come here and try our golf course. And so I'm totally in favor of flexibility.
You think it's flexibility, but in fact it's giving out rounds to non-members now at very low rate when we're trying to sell and build up our internal members at a higher rate. If we can bring 4 people in, or 3 people, where you can have 4 groups of people, all who make advanced TO. So 16 guys come in and they play in the morning. Why wouldn't you do that at that rate? I don't know. Maybe I'd have to, I don't understand why you would. Do you see what I'm saying? If you just do what Doug said, and that's how he views it, I'm a person, I'm an individual, I buy the membership, and every week I come in with 3 other guys, and we all play at that lower rate every week. And moreover, there's 3 or 4 other people who do the same thing, are coming in every week. Those 3 or 3 other guys.
They're playing here instead of the Bay Club or the River Run. We're getting our residents back on our course. That's what we want to do.
Well, yeah, they are playing here, and what's happening to our membership already, and are paying a higher rate than they are.
It seems we've been struggling to build up the membership, and maybe that's not the future of our golf course. I'm just saying, Dave. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just saying maybe people are not interested in that membership package, or there are very few people interested in that, and instead they want the flexibility that this kind of package offers. To me, I mean, that's, you know, it seems like we've been talking about increasing membership, as long as I've been in Ocean Pines, and it seems to be a very difficult kind of a task,
But
and
this-
maybe that's just not the future of our golf
doesn't
course.
increase membership for sure. It does local play at a very low rate. And we've already lowered the rates down to what we thought.
And maybe it's really popular, and next year, instead of whatever the dollars are attached to it, it's 20% more than that. Find out it's so popular. I mean, to me, it's an attractive option for people that are not interested in that full membership kind of a deal, because they just don't think they're going to use it. Like me, for example. You know.
Okay. I believe it's a mistake, but I'm
I'm just curious about one thing, Brett. I don't know if you have the numbers at hand. For full membership, we look at a person that has purchased a full membership individual. How many rounds of 18 or 9 holes they play throughout the year? No, you know, that's not available.
I don't have any. I don't have anything close to that. All the numbers we do have, which were in the budget packet, is that, like many of our amenities, well, aquatics is kind of the deviation to it, but to racket sports and golf, we were in a period of declining memberships. And I think the board in this year has taken decisive action across all of our amenities to take strong efforts to increase membership and increase utilization within our association of our amenities. And I think, you know, this step is just one further action to bring people into our golf course and to get our residents using the amenities that all of us are paying for.
And can you, I don't know if I have overlooked this information, but can you provide the numbers of what is the full individual membership, golf membership, versus 30/60? Do we know the difference between the two?
On the golf memberships, this is the rate of the sales.
What's the rates?
Yeah, the individual full membership rate versus the 30/60.
Oh, the rate as proposed, an individual membership is $1,200, and the 30/60 was proposed at, were you at $1,200 or $1,290, Tom? $1,290. So it's a $90 difference. And if you if you go to our historicals,
Well, that doesn't include part.
correct. So the full membership is $1,200, and then you were $1,100 for the card package. So you'd be $2,300
Okay,
for the membership plus card package.
so it's almost, really, the difference between the two is almost 80%. Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out, how attractive we are making this, and whether the 30/60 package would cannibalize the full membership appeal. That's why these numbers do help. Thanks.
Which is 30/60?
$1,290.
$1,290.
With the card.
Full membership cost.
23 unlimited, but you also get the benefit of the card, the driving range. It's about a $279 benefit.
Somebody want to put forward a motion or something to close this?
Yeah.
I think the only hang up, it appears on yours with flexibility, is whether or not we include range. So
Well,
would you
he's
be
saying-
willing to go off with changing your scenario to not include the range?
Well, I need some clarity on your saying that someone else can use the card when you're not there, or you have to be there as a guest to use that card. Well,
It will be guests of the individual. I think that's the most reasonable way to accommodate for abuses. Dave was citing other concerns. So it would be the individual plus guests. And if you want to limit that to a foursome, then I think going that far in exclusion is also reasonable. But to have guests play a company, I think is an important part of that structure.
You have to be present.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, you notice all of these facts. Are these gonna get written down? You know, hold on.
Cheryl and I are trying to.
We're
trying to.
I'll tell you what, when you guys are working on that.
Okay,
Can we take 5 minutes?
Sure. 5 minute recess. I'll give a 5 minute recess.
Later, just say whatever.
Okay, we can
Right.
5 minute recess.
So
Bathroom break.
would be a individual
That's right.
no range.
Right. What was that? Yeah. Target.
Wishful thinking. I got excited when I saw the agenda. I'm like, all right, 11:40, we're done.
That's right.
As a matter of procedure, I think my motion.
Yeah,
That's the one, we voted up and down. No.
Budget
Are you going to?
Yeah.
I mean, that salary study for $5.
And that's just the regular. And for the shared. You provide these cards. Well, procedural. Well, you better think it out and write it down, which is what we did with and which was not to do. They said, well, we have a discussion and we will agree. Well, show me where it's.
Yeah, we did have a discussion.
I know we had a discussion. I remember that you all agreed. That was Brad pushing his family, everybody.
Whatever.
Daily rate is 45. We already get over $2 a round.
That's what the original budget.
And if you want to that's summertime.
If you bring the guest to play, they're paying for rent. But you have that party, no. So if you didn't have a car, you pay $45,000. You pay $45,000 as well. They would pay you something that for it. That's such a.
All right, I'll call the meeting back to order.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing over there?
No, we're just wondering where this is going to go.
Wonderful. Do I surprise you something? No, I have a proposal on the table, and I think it's a matter of courtesy and procedure that we should, I'm requesting an up and down vote on.
All right, repeat the proposal, so we're all clear exactly what we're voting on.
Where the heck is it? Yeah. He just left.
I'll recite it for you.
Please.
Don't help me, Matt.
Oh, come on.
I'll wait till I find. I will find.
The proposal, as I had for Dave Stevens, was to make the 30/60 membership an individual member, a limited individual membership, where it would entitle the holder to a 20% discount on the pro shop, advanced tea times as a normal member, and include carts for play for 30, 18 rounds, or 69 round play, or any combination thereof, for the holder of the membership only.
That's certainly accurate.
No range.
No range.
But time preference and 20%
Well,
discount.
Yes. Oh, thank you. That's the other word, right? Okay. Yeah, I move that the 3060 golf membership be implemented as an individual membership, carry all of the benefits, e.g. early tea times, pro shop discounts, as other memberships with the exception of range privilege. That's it.
I'll second it. Discussion?
The horse is being dead.
Call the question. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Now, that
Okay.
doesn't, point of order?
Yeah.
That doesn't preclude us from having a discussion on a, lack of a better term, swipe card approach.
Yes, it does. 'Cause you just,
We
you
just
Yes.
voted. We just voted.
We
against
just,
it.
but let me point out that, I mean, there
That's
are
not a
a
membership.
number of different ways in which we can, not a membership, but there are a number of different ways that we can offer a swipe card or a prepayment, what they call it, on our golf course, which could attract and have similar benefits to the one that you're proposing. In other words, people come with you, you can use a swipe card for them, you can use it for yourself, and whatever restrictions you want to put on. Nothing, in this motion, precludes doing that. Nothing.
You can do it. The GM can do anything to refresh and just be goes on.
In theory, but anytime the GM tries to do something, the board seems to have a new opinion of it, and it comes back to discussion. So that was the discussion.
No, come on, you're making tear up.
This is for budget purposes.
Okay, that's done.
It's done.
It's done.
And if we can get that proposal. Vote on it.
Okay. New business? New business, motion resolution to approve interest rate red notes.
I make a motion to accept a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Ocean Pines Association, whereas the Ocean Pines Association, Inc., known as the Associations of Maryland Homeowners Association, whereas in 1990, paragraph 12DB of the Declarations of Restrictions for the various sections within the association were amended to change the interest rate that may be assessed for non-payment of any annual charge by an owner from 6% per annum to, quote, the rate set by the Board of Directors at an open meeting in February of each year, unquote. Whereas the Board of Directors wishes to set the interest rate of applicable non-payment of assessments. Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Association duly adopts the following resolution. Resolved pursuant to Section 12DB of the Declaration as amended in the event of an annual charge due to the owner is not paid when due, the unpaid amount shall bear an interest rate in the amount of 20% per annum. Resolved, the Directors this resolution shall be in effect until replaced or amended by a further resolution of the Board of Directors.
I'll second the motion. Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I don't support the 20% interest rate going forward for a couple of reasons. One, I find the interest rate unusually high in relation to what has been observed in some other homeowner associations, and I will use two specifically largest associations in the state of Maryland, and that's Columbia Association and Montgomery Village Association. I have accessed their DRs, And in the case of both, they use 6% as a interest rate on delinquent accounts. This doesn't seem to be a coincidence. We have done the same years ago before we changed the RDRs. And furthermore, it appears that the interest rate that we do charge doesn't seem to be very effective in terms of solving the problem with the delinquent accounts. We write off almost as much as we project in a budget that we will collect in revenue from the interest rate. But to summarize, I'm more in favor of following what seems to be a business practice by two largest associations in the state of Maryland, and that's 6% per annum.
Any further discussion?
Well, I'm not sure what if that's 6%, I'm not familiar with those. I mean, I know those organizations, but I'm not familiar with their policies. If it includes any other fees, my concern with lowering the interest rate lower than it is at present, there are dollars clearly associated with us collecting those late, a lot of dollars, a lot of staff time, attorney's fees on the collections that we don't make. And so I would support 20% this year with the idea that we look at our actual cost in collecting, and whatever that ends up being, we do not charge a rate less than that, because I don't think the members that are paying, if we don't charge enough to cover what it costs us to collect, then our members that are paying for that. And I'm not sure that I would support that. I mean, I know I wouldn't support that. I think we should know what we charge. We've been charging 20% for a while. The attorneys have blessed our process, blessed that rate. And I would like to understand the real cost to us of collection. And then, okay, maybe the rate shouldn't be 20, it should be 18 or 15 or something, whatever that number is. But I would really want to understand that, and I don't know that in this budget right now we have time to know that. So I would support continuing the way we do it with a deeper understanding of the whole process and what it actually costs us. It takes a lot of time, a lot.
Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, I sort of agree with Pat, and just with respect to lack of knowledge. I wondered how much of the 20% we've ever actually collected. I mean, I suspect that lowering it just won't make a difference. We could raise it and it wouldn't make a difference. One of the things that I believe, and Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we get down to the point where a homeowner is willing to talk and negotiate to us about, I mean, we can negotiate. I mean, so in other words, we can at some point in the future make the 20% disappear. If we, I don't know, I'm not recommending that. I don't think we should do it, but on the other hand, we can. So I'd leave it, and then let's look at it and see if we can figure out how much we're really getting by.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make an additional comment. I took a look at some of the properties that are delinquent, some of the largest delinquent accounts. And actually I found it interesting that most of them are current on paying property taxes to the county, but they don't pay homeowners association dues. I also observed that in many cases, those that have highest balances due actually have more they owe us in interest than they do in principal as a result of this very aggressive 20% per annum interest rate. It's also, I find it unacceptable that we are charging more than a condominium association, which is by Maryland stature limited at 18%, and they really do have a reason why they should charge high in order to encourage people to pay and be current with dues because there's as many condos, everybody's under the same roof and relies on each other to be current on payments so that the facility can be maintained properly. I understand what you're saying, but if you look at what we project in interest revenue versus what we write off in bad debt, it's very obvious that it's not working, and you don't continue something as a policy just because you can. I am very much in favor of following two largest associations in the state of Maryland and support changing the rate to 6%. Many homeowners have expressed similar concerns over our practice, and I'm motivated basically to be the voice of those as well.
Cheryl.
Likewise, a couple of meetings ago, we had a homeowner come in and was very critical of us not being more aggressive in collecting on our assessments. And that would include, of course, the interest charges associated with that. I think that going forward, particularly when we have a permanent GM in place, being more aggressive on trying to collect these unpaid fees that would take into consideration what you're saying about homeowners who are current on their property taxes but choose to let ours go unpaid would be one way. We have other mechanisms available to us with garnishing wages, garnishing other things, and so I would be more in favor of being more aggressive in that regard, and then see whether or not it's appropriate down the road to consider lowering the interest rate because of taking into consideration what Pat's saying, you know, what is the real cost to us? And if we are more aggressive, it's going to be more expensive, and therefore I think 20% would be appropriate. If we find out we're going to be more successful, then we can reconsider what the rate ought to be.
Right.
I want to correct a couple of statements that were made there. First of all, there is not an account where the interest exceeds the principal. On all of the accounts, the interest does make up a large number for accounts that get 6 or 7 years old, but the principal always exceeds the amount of interest charged. Second, when it comes to the write-offs, the correlation of the interest charged to us having to write off an account is in no way direct. The accounts that we're writing off are people that have failed to pay their mortgage for, in some cases, up to 10 years. And the banks have repossessed the property. There is not a means to collect on the money, and we lose that. If we lower the interest rate, we are still going to be writing off the years of assessments. And where the interest rate was set, and while I might not agree 100% in the financial principles of some of the previous boards and the decisions that were made, that number was set because it put us in a place where the delinquent homeowners are the ones that are funding those write-offs. And if you lower the interest rate, the only person that benefits from that is someone that does not pay their bills to us. And that's a burden that's placed on the 98% of the homeowners that do pay their bills. If the interest rate at the current level, we're collecting from those people that are not complying with the covenants they agreed to when they moved in here to pay us every year. And that money covers the amount of money that we have to write off. And that balance was created, and while I might not agree with the principle, how it came about, or some of the other philosophy of those people, they did a really good thing for us there, and it is in their best interest to maintain that. And to the comment Cheryl just made, and I know there's been a sentiment across this board that we need to be more aggressive in all of our activities, and I think we have been a very aggressive board. At this point in time, absolutely every delinquent assessment, even the ones that are back from 5 years plus, are in the hands of an attorney for collection. And that has not been the case of any prior board. The rule before was that anything under $5,000, we were processing here in Worcester County, and if it went to outside jurisdiction, we were just pursuing in-house collection measures. Ruth Ann has moved every single one, whether they're in our jurisdiction or not, out to council, and suits being filed against them. And the measures show that. If you look at our receivables, which Pat cited in the financial report, Our receivables are coming down. If you look at the 1, 2, and 3 year, those numbers are really low. Their problem is the people that are never going to pay us. And realistically, our attorneys are probably going to be able to collect a portion of that through garnishments and other means. And we're going to have a couple $100,000 in write-off just to clean our books. And you're going to get to a receivables level that is very low going into the coming fiscal year because we're going to clean out all of this bad debt from lack of activity. So I think we're taking the right measures now, and we need to protect ourselves so we don't get into a further hole that hurts our dues-paying members down the road.
Is there any way to find out, or do you know how much of the money that we're actually collecting from delinquent accounts is interest? I know you probably don't now, but I'm just wondering.
It's on our books. Is that your question?
Yeah.
It's recognized that way.
So we would be able to figure out. We're not collecting much because delinquent is delinquent. They're not, and so we know that part.
We clearly record the charge separate from the assessment. It is recorded separate.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that what you mean? The delinquent fee.
So we do know it, but I'm guessing that it's not the interest isn't a very big factor.
The interest, if you look at this year, and I don't know the exact number, I'm not looking at the book, but it generally equates to what we're writing off. We've written off about $205,000 this year. The interest is going to be in that same ballpark. And that's what I just said, that whoever set this interest rate before did us good there because it kept us where our delinquencies are who's funding the bad debt, not the 7 of us who had to pay our dues just to be a board member. So I know we're all in the stand.
So the interest is that high, I think, is what you're saying. $200,000 in interest is paying our $200,000 write-off. I think that's what it is.
But on I think the number's a little lower than that. I was just looking at the receivables prior to today to do my report, and I think that the charge is a little lower than that. But it's still, it's still.
I was looking at ballpark.
It's still a significant.
That's a good thing.
All right, so moving orders of the day. Any other discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution to approve convenience fee. Red Hill.
At the direction of our attorney, I'm bringing forth the following resolution. The Board of Directors of the Ocean Pines Association, whereas the Ocean Pines Association, Inc., the association is a Maryland Homeowners Association. Whereas paragraph 12D of the Declaration of Restrictions for various sections within the association obligates each owner to pay uniform annual charges assessed by the association, whereas the Board of Directors wishes to allow the owner's convenience fee to render payment for the annual charge by use of a credit card, whereas the association incurs additional costs related to every credit card transaction, whereas to cover additional costs associated with the use of credit cards, the Board of Directors finds it necessary to charge the owners who voluntarily wish to pay the annual charges by credit card an additional fee for the use of the credit card in addition to the annual charge, here referred to as a convenience fee. Now, therefore, Board of Directors of the association duly adopts the following resolution. Resolved, owners are permitted to render payment for the annual charge by use of a credit card that the association accepts under a merchant agreement within the credit card company. Resolved, if an owner wishes to use a credit card, the owner must also pay a convenience fee at the same time the credit card transaction is processed. Convenience fee can be paid in cash or through the same credit card transaction. Resolved, the convenience fee shall be a fixed dollar amount set by the general manager, but shall not exceed 4% of the annual charge paid by credit card. Resolved, owners will be informed of the convenience fee prior to the credit card transaction. Notice the convenience fee will be provided at the desk of the administrative office. As a background on this, while specifically Jeremy addressed this to the annual fee, in terms of any notation of convenience fee or credit card transactions, our ability to charge does come out of the DR, and we have a practice of applying a convenience fee on our amenities membership that was never set publicly through a resolution like this. So this is more of a paperwork cleanup that if we are charging for amenities and memberships, which do fall into annual charges of the association, that we're duly entitled to charge that convenience fee for credit card processing, and that we follow the proper disclosures for that. This resolution would in turn be allowed to be carried over to the assessments as a side effect of it, but the primary purpose was housekeeping related to our memberships and the charges that flow through the administrative offices.
I'll second the resolution. Any discussion?
So are we deciding or not with this resolution about credit cards for assessments? No, that's a separate question. Okay.
I guess technically, and Cheryl pointed out to me, in the way this is drafted, if someone would come to us and saying that they will pay their credit card, pay their assessment by credit card, we would have to allow them to do so, and we would be fully entitled to surcharge that payment with the credit card convenience fee. However, we adopted to send out the membership assessments as they were with the normal statement that says make your check payable to the association. The purpose of this was centered around membership and the amenities, which does have a credit card disclosure already listed on there, and that is our purpose. But as a side effect, technically we would have to take a credit card for an assessment if we were asked to, but we would be entitled to the additional premium on the assessment.
Slobodan.
I did a quick research this morning on this subject, and I have observed the different laws and regulations, either state-specific or credit card company-specific when it comes to convenience fees. And at this point, I really am not clear whether all of this has been taken into account before the association introduces such policy to allow dues to be paid with the use of credit cards. That's a main concern that I have, because there seems to be there's a topic being discussed at the community association levels with this particular transaction. And I feel that as a board, before we pass this, we should do a little more research and get a little more clarifications. I exchanged emails with Brett and all of you this morning on this subject, and I just feel that we shouldn't rush into this and pass it. I would be more in favor of tabling this motion until we have the time to look at all issues related to passing such motion.
Doug?
Looking at the convenience fee, the notion of fixed dollar amount and not to exceed 4%, how does that translate when somebody doesn't pay their entire assessment? In other words, they do it in maybe they're on a payment plan per se. In other words, they're going to pay some portion of the assessment by credit card, and then, the next iteration they pay a portion. How do we calculate that out? If it's a fixed fee, is it prorated based on the amount left over by the assessment?
I mean, to me, you would just divide by the number of payments, the fixed dollar amount.
Yeah.
I thought that just back to I thought that you said the attorney.
This was drafted and presented to us by Jeremy Tucker.
Right, just wanted that.
Well, I understand that has happened, but I also understand what I have read this morning, doing some quick research, and I have shared a couple of links with all of you, so you can take a look at it at your leisure. To respond to Pat's comment, first of all, most credit cards require that convenience fee be a fixed dollar amount, not a percentage. Two, the fee is assessed per transaction. Okay, so if you pay on a monthly basis, each month you would be assessed a transaction concession fee, for example, $40, and you might be paying $80 a month on a $921 monthly, on a $921 annual dues. If you divide it by 12, that's about $75, and you're going to be assessed $40 in convenience fee on a monthly basis. obviously the math doesn't work out. But again, I just stand by what I said. I feel that this should be researched further, and that's all I have to say.
When I said you would prorate, if the charge for the entire amount is $80, you would divide that by the number of payments. You wouldn't pay $80 convenience fee every payment. You would pay the exact same convenience fee as a percent of the assessment. Either way, it would be the $80. It would be that number. It would be the same.
If you read the link I sent, you can see what's been explained. Anyway.
Well, we pay an attorney to review these things. Maybe we should stop doing that. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, that costs us money. And if we're not going to rely on what our attorney blesses, why do we do it?
Cheryl.
I do think the issue could present itself that Doug raised, and this is what I had brought up to Brett. If a person chooses to take the option of paying their annual assessment by credit card, what if they say, I'll pay X number of dollars. Let's say your assessment's $921. I'm going to pay $700 on my credit card, and then I'll give you the balance by check. And so there has to be language to address that scenario happening, and then is the 4% on the unpaid balance. So that is the scenario that has to be addressed. The other language that I'm seeing right here in the second resolve is that the convenience fee can be paid in cash or through the same credit card transaction. That's like a crazy scenario. I don't understand why a person would say, I'm going to charge whatever I'm paying for with my credit card, but I'll pay you cash for the convenience fee. I mean, I guess you save paying interest on your credit card by doing that, but that's kind of an odd situation. It almost seems like it ought to be one or the other. Like, if you're going to pay by credit card, we're going to tack your convenience fee onto that credit card transaction. So I just have an issue about that language in the second resolve. But I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, maybe, this will cut down even further on our uncollectibles by offering people the ability to use credit card.
I think, if I can, I think you want to make this as simple administratively as you can. And I wouldn't offer, too many options in terms of, I don't know, it's just me speaking. If you want to sign up for a monthly payment, like to start with, and you want to pay off your credit card on a monthly basis, then do that. Means fee is a fixed amount. But you don't do half in credit card, half in cash. I mean, it would get more complicated, I would think, for admin to try and handle something like that. I don't know. I don't have a problem with doing this, charging.
I don't think it's, I hear you on that one, and we don't want to make anything complicated for staff, but I don't think, if we collect more this way, which I think we might, and particularly if we do a monthly kind of a deal, it's no more complicated than trying to go out and collect the assessment, the time involved for staff on that. I don't think this, in my mind, when I read it, it doesn't automatically say we're going to allow all these different scenarios. I think we could decide separate from this resolution what we think is a reasonable payment plan. If somebody comes and says, I'm going to pay you X dollars a week, probably going to say, well, that's not going to work, kind of a thing. So I think we would have the ability, separate from this, to say how we will accept payment, how far down we'll go as far as dividing that payment up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That second resolve basically says that you have to pay it means to when the credit card is actually used, but there's nothing in this resolution that sets up how the credit card will be used, over a period of time or up front. may use it simply because they'll get another month to pay in cash rather than checking. Or,
Yeah, I think the resolution sets the fee and the notice, and then we can decide exactly how. The resolution just setting fee and notice, I think, suffices for now. Doug?
In light of both Cheryl and Pat's comments, would it make sense in the second resolve that we just struck the last sentence and said the convenience fee can be paid in cash or do the same credit card transaction? Or modify that in such a way to eliminate that ambiguity. In other words, you don't get a chance to,
My only concern with that would be that the attorney blessed this. And I'm never sure when an attorney does something like that, well, I am sure when an attorney does something like that, that maybe that needs to be there. You know?
Yeah,
maybe we need the option.
Yeah, maybe we need a clarification, because if it's there just to cover a what-if scenario, that's one thing. If it's there to cover a legal requirement, that's something else.
Sense.
So if it's a what-if scenario, maybe we would get some administrative benefit by not having to deal with that condition. As long as we're able to, we're not causing any legal risk.
I'd like to bring to your attention a third resolved statement. The convenience fee shall be a fixed dollar amount set by general manager, but shall not exceed 4% of the annual charge being paid by credit card. My understanding is the convenience fees is usually set by credit card companies or companies that handle these electronic transactions, not by a merchant, in our case, a general manager. So I just wonder whether this is something that's appropriate, that we should vote to allow a general manager to set a convenience fee without knowing for sure that this is a common practice.
I don't. This is the convenience fee that Ocean Pines is charging for the ability to use the credit card. This is not the fee that Visa or whatever is going to charge Ocean Pines to do the transaction. That's a separate issue. That's got really nothing to do with this. That's what the credit card company charges us for the privilege of taking their payments. That's set by them, and we're not going to do anything about that. And that's really, we could use that in our thought about this, and as long as it was legally in the range we have to be in, then that's fine. That's a whole separate issue.
And I would say in that, the reason that was put in was because, especially now with the new rewards cards, it's not as simple as that every credit card is the same rate. And those rates do change on us from merchant processors on a more regular basis than they have in the past. So if next month American Express comes and increases their charges us by 0.2%, that verbiage was put in there. So at the operations level, the changes could be made within the fee structure to account for the cost incurred by the association in that transaction, and that every time a fee structure changed, we weren't not coming back to the board for a new resolution. Say, okay, well, this week, because Southwest has a new program, Chase is charging us more on their Visa transactions. We can't operate like that. So there needs to be some guidance at an operational level to adjust for the changes that come down to us from our vendors.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. Motion to approve fiscal year 2017-18 budget. Brett Hill.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby approves the proposed budget for the fiscal 17-18, which budget was modified following presentation of the membership public hearing on February 20th, 2017, and which budget reflects total revenues of $11,847,214 and operating expenses and transfers of the same amount, with a basic annual assessment of $921 and capital expenditures of $1,832,300,000.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. I'm not going to go over any of the individual items or list them or anything. I think it's been outside, even internally at the board, numbers of areas which I won't say controversial, but this budget, in my mind, I just have to say, I think is highly speculative and significant risk. Now, the association has a lot of money, so you can say, well, it's not really that much risk, is it? But I think there are specific areas in there that we've proved by up and down vote, and I'll go and I'll vote for the budget. But not without saying that I had considerable apprehension, particularly begin to an area of the unknown where we're going to hire another general manager who's going to basically take this up. That's just my comments.
Okay. So I'd share some of my concerns with you guys regarding, the numbers and specifically the increase in labor costs across the entire organization. In some cases, based on our discussions, I felt they were justified. We could see some tangible need. And in other areas, I wasn't so sure. I just couldn't put my hands around a tangible need for certain things. And, apprehension, yeah, maybe that is the right word. I just wonder what could significantly change in that investment of, an increase of almost $800K in our labor costs. And I kept trying to go back through. Yeah, we did it in certain pieces, but I just never came to that conclusion and say I could identify the entire $800K increase in labor attributed to some change in our operation or some change in some services and so on and so forth. I could account for some of it, probably a good portion of it, but there's still some questions that I had that were left unsaid or unknown to me, and I was trying to get some information with regard to, what options could we have to reduce those labor costs, and I offered a couple just for consideration, but I don't know if that was, out of line or just not able to be done at this point in time, but I still have several questions regarding labor that we've increased from one fiscal year.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the two meetings that obviously were pretty critical. For personal reasons, I was unable to attend. But looking at the overall budget and looking at the comments from some members of the community that are very active and proactive in observing what happens with the association on a year-to-year basis, I believe this year we had an opportunity to reduce the annual dues and make a statement to the association members that we are looking at our operations on a year-to-year basis and making the assessment dollar number justified based on what is the need for the current fiscal year that we are providing the operating budget for. And I personally feel that we have missed the opportunity to do so. And for the reasons such as the recovery reserve, $650K, huge spike in labor, and some other things that I was hoping that we would take a look at in terms of not just the actual payroll cost, but the associated compensation, like healthcare plans. For this reason, I'm very reluctant to vote for presented budget. And I know that we have gone over individual items, but when you add everything up, I believe that we could have and should have done a better job and produce a reduction in dues for this year, and that has not happened.
I just want to address the idea. I seem to hear so often about I want to reduce the dues. I want to reduce the dues. Well, the biggest chunk of our dues go for paying for services for the community. And I'm not sure where we're going to reduce those services for the community. I'm not sure that's reasonable. You know, the police department, the fire department, Parks and Rec, Public Works, maintenance, that's where our money goes. And I'm not sure, you know, to me, what I heard loud and clear in my first budget, up close and personal, I was on the finance committee for a couple of years, is that we have not been doing enough in some of the areas of service, that our public works and maintenance should be clearly stepped up a notch or two or three, which I think is where a lot of the money for the staff is. This is what I took away from the budget, which I think is where a lot of the staff money is. It's in public works and maintenance. We do have an aging community, and we do need to take care of it. And I'm not sure that that is a reasonable or responsible way to approach a budget, that, oh, I'm going to reduce the assessment, and that's going to be a good thing. To me, the assessment going down and taking away any services or doing even less maintenance than we've been doing in the past be a huge disservice to this community. And I think that we need to think long range and think about taking care of our infrastructure in an even greater way than we have been. My heartbreak is that the North Gate didn't get in this budget somehow, but I'm hopeful for next year. You know, the north entrance, we have areas that look like it's a 1960s, 70s community, and I think we have a responsibility to the community to keep it up to 2017. And I mean, this budget is built on the amenities doing a lot better, and a budget is always just a guide. I've been through enough as in my finance role to know that it's a guide with the target being that bottom line. You don't get to mess around with that bottom line. So in my mind, you know, and especially given the change we had in our leader, in our general manager to an interim general manager, is this budget exactly the way I would have wanted it developed, presented? But my gosh, the fact that we even have a budget kind of amazes me, a budget that's fairly reasonable. And I guess, you know, from my point of view, I support this budget knowing that there are areas of question. And to Doug's point about the staff, the budget gives the right for the staff. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to go out and hire those positions without some more consideration. Or in my mind, if I were responsible for this, I'd be making sure the amenities were chugging along and heading in that direction before I filled those positions, knowing that the bottom line's got to be the target. So I would support this budget as it is, and I'm not sure time-wise. I know some of the areas you talked about, Slobodan, employee benefits, et cetera. I feel we as a board have to pay attention to that. I just don't think that the time was there for that kind of conversation to happen this year. Hopefully we can start to tackle that now that the budget's put to bed. As a board, we can look at those areas that we have responsibility for, ensuring that we're doing in the right way, in a fair way, and equitable way, etc.
If I can just add to what I said earlier in response also to Director Supik's comment. I don't necessarily subscribe to an idea of reducing services, that being the result of cutting back on annual dues. We also have entitlements on the other side of the picture that are basically out of control, and that is the area that has not been looked at and gotten the handle on. So what I'm suggesting, and what has been also brought to our attention as a board, is that just because we could have decided to lower the annual dues does not imply instantly that there is going to be reduction in services.
Cheryl.
I appreciate everything that Pat said, and I think that is really important to be said. My only comment about the budget is, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that we did have a change in the administration. In my world, you don't build a budget by saying the assessment's going to stay the same. You build a budget from the bottom up. Whatever the number turns out to be, then you make adjustments as to whether or not you think you can go along with whatever that number is. Whether it's, my guess, it would not be lowering the assessment, given that we want to try to tackle a lot of things that haven't been done here in the past. So I'm happy to vote for this budget.
Okay, no further? Call the question. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Appointments? Oh, you put something in.
Yes. Five to two. I guess had the point of question that I wanted to ask publicly for transparency was brought to our attention yesterday about a parcel of property for sale on the north side of Ocean City. I also had other property brought to my attention on the north side of the North Gate. Also, it was brought to my attention there's property for sale to the south side of the South Gate. And my question to the board is there any desire to even look at these properties or obtain information on what they would cost and to bring them for consideration as far as any formal numbers to the board for any future expansion of our asset base or future use? And I know in the email yesterday we suggested possible public works or storage, and I think that was also the case when the consideration was out there for the property on Bocamp Road that Mr. Nichols purchased, the golf course. I just bring it out. If there's any interest in me making the phone calls and taking action to bring information back, I'd be happy to do so. If that's not a direction we want to go, I just need to know that too, so we can, if those emails or requests do come into us, we can just move on from them.
Okay.
Yeah, Brett, I see no problem with getting information, at least frame the issue, and might stimulate further discussion. But I think it's a great idea to go ahead and at least get information on all those parcels of land and see if it makes any sense for us in the long run.
Toby?
Yeah, the only, well, not only, but maybe the first thing that comes to mind with regard to this topic, I think it would obviously be great that we have a comprehensive plan. And we know what the vision for the next 20 years of the association is going to be, and whether we want to grow beyond our current borders or not, which would require additional land. So I kind of, I'm torn between, what to do. Obviously, getting the information and knowing how much it's going to cost is one thing, but we have an asset already on 589 next to the post office, which is sitting empty, that we haven't come up with a concept of how we should use it to improve either the association as a whole or provide additional services that are currently attracted by new modern master plan communities that we are actually competing with on Eastern Shore. So on one hand, we have an empty land that we are not leveraging in any way, and I think there's another piece of, from what I remember, near the secrets on the bay side. And now we're talking about exploring potentially another purchase. So that's what I am. My gut reaction is basically, do we even know how to use what we already have on 589, and do we have a need for additional land?
Dave? Yeah, well, Slobodan mentioned the magic words, comprehensive plan. And we did have a meeting this week, and Brett has been inquiring as to what's the status of the survey, and whether or not we allow Brett to go out. And have taken all the board inputs. I do have got a copy yesterday, and a revised copy, and I'll send it to the board. I also added, at kind of the suggestion, one from Tom and one from Brett, two questions. One of them relating to the 589 problem, and they're generic questions. You know, what's your view of what we should do with this in the future? I think the answers to that maybe interesting. And so I just mentioned that. You know, I've been through the various property exchanges or potential, and you know, I think the overall question is, what do we want to be, and we have a real need. So I think on those issues, it's sort of a situational, yeah, and that's why getting the information, specific information, is a good idea. So anyway.
Yeah, my feedback is pretty much similar to what they said. I think all information can't hurt, help us decide what we can do, and I'm 100% for getting the information.
I feel the same way.
Okay.
Why not?
Pretty unanimous.
Then move on.
Just like always.
I'm going to ask if there's any objection to grouping the appointments together all in one motion.
None.
All right, I'd like to appoint Jerome Dank, third term, Recreation and Parks Committee. Marie Gilmore, third term, Recreation and Parks Committee. Dick Schlesinger, second term, Recreation and Parks Committee. Jay Spada, second term, Environmental Natural Assets Committee. Steve Cohen, third term, Comprehensive Plan Committee. I'll ask for a motion to accept all the appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.